Yeah. Exchange student, and oh my god, it's back to school, and it's gonna be so hard. Yeah.
Hi, what's up, everybody? It's Press X the podcast with your host, Paul, and your best friend in the whole universe, James.
Hello, friends.
It's just me, but I'll take friends.
Yeah, I mean, you, friend, listeners, other friends. I feel like, the plural is appropriate.
It's appropriate. It's appropriate. If you're listening, you're our friend. You have our word at that, unless you, I don't know, do something we don't like.
Yeah, you're conditional besties.
Yeah, we don't like things that we don't like, and we're not going to change that.
No, and why would we?
It's been a while since we were convened on this digital boardroom.
Well, it's the end of the hot and heady days of summer, and people just find themselves elsewhere, much to our chagrin, although I'm sure everybody else is having lots of fun doing their things. Well, wheels must turn.
It sure would be nice if they knew that they would be elsewise occupied before podcasting time. So we apologize for missing an episode. We don't like to do that, but here we are with episode 2.3. We're calling 2.3 for the week of September 2nd, 2019. James Paley, what have you been playing?
I was on vacation last week, and so I thought I was just going to be playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I was, which is getting kind of frustrating because I'm a soft-hearted fool who doesn't want to see people die, even when they're fucking useless. Like, poor little Ignatz can't, everybody's like, oh, he's a big sniper boy, but then you fucking set him up against somebody from 6 paces away, and it's just like shooting Nerf arrows at this guy, and then he turns around and bludgeons him into a fucking paste, and you're like, well, I guess I can turn back time and save you because you paint things in your spare time, and it's adorable, but you could suck less, and I would be so happy with you. Anyways, that's one of the things I've been playing this week.
I'm kind of getting into those feels. I've been playing Three Houses some, not a ton, just because other things have been going on, but I get where you're coming from. Some people have no business being that bad on the battlefield and then so charming and delightful back at the monastery. Yeah. It's upsetting.
If everybody has so much personality, I would have let 6 of them die if they weren't so interesting.
Really, you don't need that many characters who can, power your way through, especially on normal. It's not that hard. Oh
yeah, you just like a 5-6 man team. Like that's your core. That's what you end up using, and you have like 4 to 7 hangers on your entourage. The guys that run and get your water, and go get McDonald's at 2 a.m. or whatever, but can't hold a sword the right way to save their fucking lives, often literally. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And how dare they have their own beliefs about where their training should go? I hate that. You could get your nose back in the book.
Yeah, you could defy them. You could say, listen, I know you really want to, put down the staff and become an axe fighter, but you have noodle arms, and I don't think it's a good idea.
Listen, shitstick, you're already a B in the staff. You're going to stick with the staff.
Yeah. If you're not S rank by whatever this game calls March, then so help me God, I will let you die.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Three Houses. It's a good game. Everybody should go play it. It's pretty fun.
It is. It's still all over my goddamn Twitter feed, which is basically how I gauge the popularity of games. Is who I follow is still talking about it. And it's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Do you feel the urge to go back and like start a new game with a different house?
I I think what I'm going to end up doing is just new game plussing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently, once you do that for like the 3 houses, you can just like, there's like a 4th path or whatever you can take.
Ooh.
So I've heard, allegedly, as a rumor, which I have not looked up and corroborated with evidence of any sort. I just like the mystery. But I think I'm going to take my time and eventually get to that point because your like professor stats carry over, and like the higher your like prof rank is, the more points you have to like spend during downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty up for that because it means you can like become best friends with everybody really fast, real easy, and then you don't have to kill any classmates. And
Well,
and yeah, they
like
make a
that,
fucking production of it too.
yeah. Yeah. So dramatic. And really that 4th path is only 350 to 400 hours of time invested. So
Whoa, 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 and also whoa. If and when I get to the new game plus phase, I'm going to be like powering through. Like I know they voice basically every piece of dialogue, but if it's just the two of us getting to know each other, I'll do it at my reading speed, not at your talking speed, which is like way different.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll still watch those sweet cutscenes where it's like, hey, this is how the story would have panned out if you'd picked one of the lesser houses instead of Golden Deer. And, I want to know that information, but otherwise, I'm just going to be like moving and grooving and hopping and bopping and wasting no time.
I do
Anyways,
like that the game, if you pick something that you shouldn't on one of your off days, you're like, I'm going to explore the monastery. And there's nothing actually to explore on that particular day. People are like, what are you doing? You should be resting or in the classroom.
It's like, what? Get out of my hair,
Yeah. Like, why are you walking around? There's no one to talk to right now.
Okay. Also, the other thing I've been playing this week is Torchlight 2, because it's coming out on modern consoles tomorrow, so this week. And the game came out back in 2012, so it definitely shows its age in some ways. But for me, an action RPG acolyte, or addict, if you want to be less polite, it's a real rip-roaring good time. It's just, you could pick your skills, you invest your skill points, you invest your stat points, you pick your class, not in that order, of course, and you just do the runs, and you're killing and grabbing loot and everything else, and it's just a fun, soothing balm of a gaming experience. And I easily recommend it.
So as somebody who has never played this, can you relate it to something else that I might know?
Diablo 2.
Okay.
Yep. A cartoony, fun Diablo 2 where you get a pet that follows you around everywhere and occasionally fights for you and collects gold and can do shopping runs for you.
That kind of sounds better in every way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but one of the pets you can have is a overweight unicorn who's like pink and has tiny little legs and is super fat and leaves a trail of sparkles behind him when he runs.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough. Be still my beating heart.
Yeah.
That sounds just far too charming to ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah, have they changed anything bringing it to modern consoles, or is it the 2012 game just straight up?
I don't think they've changed much. It's a pretty good system for the time. Like, it kind of helps that action RPGs are sort of an older subgenre, and so there hasn't been like a ton of crazy innovations. Especially if you're looking for an experience that resembles Diablo 2, then this is just perfect. The console controls, I find, aren't totally perfect. Like, when you're playing with the mouse and keyboard, you can kind of like pick a spot on the screen where a particular spell will detonate or go off. And you kind of can't really do that with controller. and the game kind of compensates for it. It's got a pretty good, relatively intuitive auto aiming system for a lot of like the spells and skills. So I haven't been in a situation yet where it's like I end up like losing my life or something like that. And there's no items and equipment don't degrade over time, so
Okay.
it doesn't really matter if you lose your life or whatever, and you don't lose items or gear or anything when you die. So
Hmm. Yeah, I guess the other thing you lose being on a controller is the ability to click at ridiculous speeds to fine tune where your character happens to be headed at any particular second.
yeah, I don't miss that.
No, you're not. You're not into clickers.
I mean, yeah, I'm not. It's fine. It's totally fine. You know, I got over it. I really did. Um,
So you were into it.
I accepted it as a part of the gaming lifestyle. I didn't exactly embrace it. It's like this is fine. This is the way it is.
Uh
It's
huh.
not the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it is. It does make like targeting spells way easier to have a mouse. So I
Sure
do kind of
does.
miss that.
Sure does. Um, cool. When's that coming out? Is that out now?
Basically, by the time this podcast airs, it will be out in the streets.
Bueno. Sounds like
Yep.
a good time. Anything else on your plate currently? You're on vacation, so not. Well, I mean, you
Um,
reviewed Torchlight too, but you know.
yeah. I'm waiting to play River City Girls when it comes in, but I haven't touched it yet because we haven't gotten the code.
Mmm. It looks so
But
tasty.
yeah, River City Ransom is great and still holds up as a NES game. Like even like 30 goddamn years later, I'll like go back and play it once in a while, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this still works.
I think that's arguably the origin of the super deformed art style with the huge heads. Because those dudes are all noggin.
Oh yeah, like it's definitely one of the like standouts. Like I'm pretty sure they were doing that in games around that time and maybe before, but like
Mm.
I don't know. What am I, fucking historian? I have no idea when the first one was, but it's one of the first for sure. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if I've talked about Remnant yet. It
I
was a
don't
couple
think
of weeks
so.
ago.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Um, long story short, I started off hating its fucking guts because it's real hard, and it really wants to be Dark Souls, but there's some key differences, like really important little things that are different. That like, uh, if you go in expecting those things, it will horrifically taint your play experience. But I gritted my teeth and forced myself to continue, at least to a point where I like liked it more.
Mm.
Um,
And you
so
like Dark
yeah,
Souls, right?
I greatly appreciate that game and what it's done for the fucking industry at large, and
Right.
like how well designed it is from front to back.
Mm.
Um, Remnant like Remnant eventually grows on you, but like when the developers and the publishers of the game tell you up front on the fucking Steam page, "Hey guys, this game is really hard," yet believe them. Listen to them. Okay? They know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I watched Trevor get absolutely slaughtered at E3 on the tutorial level. And not because
Oh,
he was playing poorly, but just because it has none of the consistency of Dark Souls where you know, all right, there's an enemy behind this door, I'm going to do this thing, and it's just completely random all the time.
Oh yeah, that's one of my biggest complaints about the game is that the enemy placement isn't set in stone
Mhm.
and the maps aren't either. So like if you start a character and the first boss you meet is like an absolute shit kicker and you play him 30 times and you've got like no recourse, you can go to the one of the menus and reset the world stone, so to speak, and then doing so will like take all the dungeons and reset them so that fucking awful boss is just like gone or like further down the chain or whatever, and you don't see him until you're like way tougher.
That's like the ultimate save scum.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Like you can you can definitely fuck with it if you get like a seed or whatever that you really don't like.
Mhm.
And another upside over the Dark Souls experience is that you can kind of like grind for like loot and stuff like that and use it to upgrade your gear and like live slightly longer.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um but I mean like it doesn't help in like bosses or like the like random dungeons or whatever. There's ones that like fighting the root mother, for example. I finished that fight after an hour and a half. It's a 3 minute sequence. Just
Wow.
to put yeah, like because it's a tower defense type thing where this old woman is fused with a tree at the back of this church, and you have to protect her from hordes of fucking enemies who come rolling in. And also, they're pretty hard, right? Like they can
Yeah.
fucking end your day and wreck your shit just like by themselves, apropos of nothing. Some of them, and like half the time they would kill me before they got the root mother, and the other half they would end her life, and then the battle's over, whatever. But yeah, I definitely tried it like 20, 30 times.
That sounds a little too far on the frustration scale for my liking, but you did end up liking this game.
Oh yeah. If you can try all three character classes
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like get a feel for like who you should be spending your time on.
Hmm.
And eventually you figure out a play style that works for you, and that's more important than like the gear you get or like the upgrades you do or the world seed that you end up with. Like the most important thing is figuring out your fucking internal rhythms in the game. If
Yeah.
you can do that, then you're good to go.
Hmm. All right. So, fans of Soulsing,
Yeah.
play Remnant,
Yeah, for sure.
because that's a tiny studio, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they like started specifically for this game.
All right. Cool.
Or
Well,
or like
I'm glad
yeah.
it turned out.
So, what have you been playing this week?
Boy, I've been playing a couple of biggies. Last week, finished Control,
Yeah.
which, in my opinion, is the best game Remedy has made.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's better than. I think the action is better in a lot of ways than Max Payne, and I think the storytelling and world building and so on are better than Alan Wake.
Wow.
Yeah, it is pretty great. It's not the highest score I've given out this year, but I think probably it's my favorite game of the year so far.
Interesting. Is that partially because of the like the bugs and stuff that they've been dealing with on older consoles?
Yes. The score would have been higher had it not been quite so buggy, but it is a bit of a mess. It sounds like on all the consoles. I played on PS4 Pro, and even there, the frame rate was chugging. She was chugging quite a bit, especially as soon as you start bringing the physics into play, and because you can destroy basically anything, and everything's highly reflective. So as soon as that stuff starts flying around, it's the performance is definitely taking a hit. But
jeez.
yeah, it's pretty ugly, and that's actually one of our news stories later is that Remedy wants to fix Control on consoles, that's nice of them. Maybe they should have done that before the game came out, but
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
But yeah, it's a tremendous game, especially the narrative. It's very mysterious. It leaves a lot to the imagination and lets you go find it. Structurally, this game's a lot more like a Metroid game or a Castlevania game than any of their past games, for sure. Because there's a lot of backtracking, there's a lot of revisiting areas you've been before. But most of the time, they do a good job of changing the context of why you're there and switching up both the enemies and the options you have available to you by the time you get back there. So it never feels like you're retreading tired ground.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
It's
The powers are rad.
oh, yeah.
Powers are so rad. I hesitate to say the best, but it's a very impressive implementation of physics. The way that, because it's in an office building. So if I pick up a photocopier and sling it at a group of desks, the desks are all going to break up into various little pieces. Like, the drawers come out of the desks individually, separate from the
Wow.
desks, and then the top of the desk breaks up and papers go flying all over the place. So there's a ton of physics in the game, and so that stuff is really fun to play with, even if you're not in a battle. Just, knocking things over, breaking blinds, smashing windows, all the things you wanted to do as a teenager. You can do it in Control instead.
Nice.
And yeah, not to reveal too much, but I think there's going to be a lot of theories about this game, about what it's actually talking about and how it connects to the other worlds Remedy has made.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I definitely highly recommend picking up Control, especially if you've got a beefy PC.
I
or
was
they
thinking
fix the
about
console.
that.
Yeah.
I have a semi-beefy PC. Like, it does all right.
Mhm.
Like, it ran Rage 2, for example, without too much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Only chugged in a couple of one very specific spot. It had problems. Otherwise, it just ran like a dream. And I feel like Control might fuck it up a little bit, especially because, like, the reflective surfaces kind of sounds like that old pal ray tracing. And I super promise my computer cannot do that shit.
Yeah. So I watched, because I'm not an expert on these sorts of things, so I went to the place that everyone goes, which is Digital Foundry, to find out what the deal is with ray tracing and how Remedy managed to make surfaces look so convincingly reflective on platforms that have no ability to ray trace. So basically they wrote some kind of software implementation that is pseudo ray tracing, just with very low resolution assets in the reflections. So it can reflect everything in the world, even if it's not on the screen, because typically that's a limitation of reflections. If you see a mirror or something, it can only reflect what's actually on the screen. So they've gotten around that in a pretty interesting way. But having seen the game with ray tracing on, it is baffling how it looks so good.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So there's a Digital Foundry video that has a bunch of the ray tracing stuff in it, and it's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I can talk about... Hold on. Let me double check the embargo and make sure that I can talk about this by the time the podcast comes out. Yes, September 4th. Perfect. That means I can talk about Gears 5.
Oh boy.
Are you a Gears fan?
Not even a little bit, but I'm intensely curious. Please tell me more.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I was, intensely curious of the Gears franchise when it started up on Xbox 360 because, dear God, I wanted something to play on that system.
Yeah.
And a lot of the mechanics that followed in video games for the, 5 or 10 years after that came from Gears. Cover shooting and stop and pop, and even things that haven't gone to other games like active reload and so on and so forth are still highly unique concepts. And so yeah, coming into Gears 5, having played some Gears 4 and kind of just rolled off of me, and I went on to other things. It was fine. Gears 5 is way better.
Yeah.
It's really good. It is, campaign wise, it's like a huge AAA action movie all the time. It's always on 100%. Things are exploding, stuff's happening. You're running through fire and gas and flames, and things are blowing up, and you're shooting, and then you're not shooting. And then it has that signature pacing from the rest of the series has, where suddenly all is quiet for no apparent reason. In the middle of the war zone, all is quiet, and you're just kind of walking slowly through these environments that are lovingly rendered and somehow run at 4K and 60 frames per second on the Xbox One X. I don't understand how that's physically possible, but they have done it.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. especially if you're into the Gears shooting, which I am not per se all about. I think it's a little
Fair.
imprecise. It's definitely more of that.
Okay. Okay. I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
simultaneously, this is also, I think, arguably the biggest game they've delivered. They've got the campaign, and the campaign
Mm-hmm.
now has open world sections and side missions and, a lot more terrain to cover. And alongside that, they've got what they're calling 4 other pillars of the game. So they've got the general versus mode, which is the
Mm-hmm.
same as it's ever been. They've got Horde, which is also mostly the same as it's ever been, but they've added some more tactical things and Sarah Connor to make that more interesting. Then they've got
Okay.
Escape, which, talking to them, they decided to make because Horde takes too long to do if you are good at it. Uh, like a full run of Horde mode can take up to 3 hours if you're on a really hard difficulty,
Oh shit.
and that's way too long. So Escape is meant to be shorter and still challenging. And then they've got a map editor, which I guess extends the life of the game.
A certain segment of the user population will be all over that shit. Like not a lot of people will get into it, but you'll see little like blurbs of stories for like 2 fucking years after this game is out where they're like, "Oh, look at this crazy shit that somebody made to Gears 5 map editor." And
Yeah, like,
like
look, this is a literal one-to-one creation of the Shinra mansion.
yeah.
Like, what? They don't have any of those assets. We did it.
Yeah, that's always great when they're like, "We built like the entire city of London."
We modded out the size limit, and now it's literally the entire Earth.
Yeah. If you try to load the map, it will melt your computer.
um, yeah, it's a pretty impressive package, and it seems like they've done a lot of work to make it more accessible to people who aren't into the franchise. And talking to Rod and company over there at the Coalition, it's because it's coming out on Game Pass.
Okay.
So they know people are just gonna, load up their Xbox on September 10th, and Gears 5 is gonna be there. Maybe it's automatically downloaded if they've got that set up, and they're gonna fire it up, and maybe they've never played it before. So if they made another one of what they had just made with Gears 4, people are gonna bounce off that so fast, and just bail. And they want people to stick around because eventually they want you to buy cosmetic stuff and whatever else, right? So they did a cool little previously on Gears video, which is kind of a nice recap of Gears 4. And they've added a lot of options to make the game easier if you're not good at shooters. So there's a target lock feature that you can use if you put it on the beginner mode. You can play as the robot who automatically cloaks if you stop moving, so it's like really safe. So yeah, it's a highly accessible game, as well as being for the hardest of the hardcore.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, all right.
Yeah,
I mean, I have no Xbox One, and who knows if I'll ever have one, but that's pretty cool.
it's out on PC as well, James. You can get it on Steam.
Yeah, I could, couldn't I? But other stuff comes out this month that I love more than I could ever love Gears.
Ooh,
So,
like what, James? Do tell.
I don't
Borderlands
know.
3?
No, man.
But
He
Claptrap just wants to be loved.
he dangled that in front of my face and I batted it away, man. I got no fucking time for that like looter shooter extraordinaire.
I'll just
No, man.
I'll just drop that rant you had about looting and shooting somewhere in here
Yeah. The
from
the,
last
the
time.
the phrase I used, which is by the way, courtesy of Penny Arcade when the Borderlands 2 first came out, is Arrow Comparison Engine. That's what it's called. Okay. And I don't have fucking time for that nonsense.
Well, tell me, James, what nonsense do you have time for this month?
Fucking Link's Awakening.
Oh, yeah. Right. That's on the 20th, right?
Correct.
Ah. Is that it? That's it? That's all you got?
Well, let's see. Coming out this month. That's really the big one. I mean, hey, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is coming out. Switch, PS4, PC. And I have a deep and abiding love for that game that I don't think has diminished much in the ensuing years. It's a re-release, though, so I don't know if I really count that.
Well, we do have a review up on the site of that, and apparently the highly detailed and gorgeous-looking characters look a little funny in front of the pre-rendered backdrops that have not been scaled.
Yeah, but that always looked weird.
Yep.
In the original version, they were like these scritchy, blocky, shitty constructs, and then you slap them in front of these fucking gorgeous 480p cutscenes, and now they're slightly shinier. Yeah, and they're still in front of the same fucking cutscenes. So, I mean, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna look weird.
But does it really matter when you can become endgame powerful within the first 2 to 3 hours of the game?
No, it doesn't matter. And I mean, you can get kind of tough, but you can't really start flexing those cheap ass muscles until like disc 2, and then you can get like every final weapon in the game before the end of disc 2, and you can go to that fucking set of 2 islands, island closest to heaven and island closest to hell, and you can just turn off encounters with one of the items and farm magic until you're so powerful that you can like flick bosses away with your one hand and watch them splatter into a fine pace as they hit the opposite wall. But not like the first 3 hours.
I mean, if you really get into the card game and start refining, I can't remember the process, but there's some process where you end up with like 80, I don't know, copies, uses, 80 uses of the triple magic really early. And you junction to basically anything, and you're just a god.
Yep.
So, but I love that. I think that game's great. Highly underrated.
Oh, yeah. Any Final Fantasy game or Square Enix type game where you can like do a bunch of research and like figure out how to like cheap and cheese and like fuck with the system, I love it. I love it to death.
Yep. That kind of explains your love of Octopath, right?
Oh yeah, man, that's exactly what it is. That like they let you do that shit, and it like, bread and butter for me, man. Like just the absolute peak.
I love your passion for Octopath. Just love it. Think it'll get on the top 10 this year? Best games of the year? Since it missed last year?
Well, I mean, it didn't come out in 2019, so it would be hard. But it came out on PC.
Yeah, it did.
But no, I'm not gonna pull that shit. I don't do that.
But what if we changed the rules so that anything that had not previously been on a best of the year list rolled over? So if you had a really good year where there was like, 15 to 20 great games, those can get their due later.
Yeah, but let's never do that because, like, there's cool new shit every year, man. There's cool new shit every year.
Right. What about best old game category?
Yeah, but it'd have to be like a certain age. Can't just be like the year before. It's got to be like previous gen or like something that you went back to after like 5 to 10. You're just like, oh my god, forgot all about this, and then I just found it again, and I feel like I'm 20 or however old you were all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Be great. And
Yeah.
you know what? I'm looking over the list. There's actually not a whole lot else in September that I'm like totally down for, aside from Link's Awakening. Damn it, Ex Machina looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
River City Girls looks really cool. Code Vein,
Might be bad.
maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be garbage. I
Same
might,
deal with the Surge 2. That could be amazing because it had a lot of potential in the first one,
yeah.
but it kind of. Womp.
Well, I mean, every time I play a demo for Code Vein, it's like trying to break out of that fucking Bandai Namco cage, and I don't know if it's gonna succeed. Because all of their fucking anime games are the same, man. All of them. And I feel bad saying this, but also I don't because it's completely true. They're not like structurally identical, but they all have these same hallmarks and these same little signature touches.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've played one, you've basically played all of them. And I just don't know if this will be enough to like bust out of that, like, or if it's just gonna be, well, at least it's frustrating like Dark Souls. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah. Does it really want to break out of the cage though? Like it's really into the anime bullshit. In a good way.
Yeah, I think it aspires to just mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
Aesthetically, no. This is a Bandai Namco game. Nuts to bolts, man. There's no question about that. But I think the way it plays, they're trying to like do something different. For example, than like every single one of their fighting games, or like all of their like actiony RPG type titles. I think they're trying to do like a third thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. I was just trying to think of Bandai Namco games, and I thought of a lot. They put out a lot of games. Like, all the time.
Yeah, there's usually 2 to 4 big ones they release every month. This month, I only put one of them on the list because the rest sucked, I guess, or looked awful. I don't know.
How many of them were Tales games?
Shockingly, 0.
That's a rare month. No Tales games.
That doesn't happen often.
Anyhow, let's stop ripping on Bandai Namco and talk about some news.
Yes, please. Some news.
Should we just take you right to your happy place and talk about Ion Fury?
Or
do you want to warm up a little?
I can get right into Ion Fury.
All right. So let's just set it up. Ion Fury is a game made in the Duke Nukem 3D engine, and designed and programmed and written to ape that style of mid-90s bad humor with jokes that are borderline, etc. However, it seems that Ion Fury may have gone a little too far and then maybe double down on the whole deal.
Yeah. So basically, this is actually like, as far as I know, like the second story about Ion Fury. In that there was like some cheesy ass awful homophobic joke that's like grade school level that people were complaining about. And it felt like there was a moment where they were gonna like, no, okay, we'll get rid of it. And then the higher ups within the studio, I can't remember who it is. I think it might be the same couple of assholes. Decided, no, we're gonna double down and really put our noses to the grindstone and make sure that this joke is out there. So first of all, fuck off, okay? No, we don't need that in our lives, okay? Like I get that you're trying to emulate a particular style of game design, but would you believe it? Shitty, immature, childish humor that's just all about punching down wasn't actually an integral part of the games of that era. I mean, it was in Duke Nukem, but we already know how poorly that franchise aged vis-a-vis Duke Nukem Forever or whatever the fuck it was called. The one that took 13 years to come out, then was a flaming hot turd because they had no idea how to fucking bring that franchise into the like modern age without like cutting the legs out from under it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same shit, but it's not at all because you could have just left that shit behind and made a really badass 2D first person shooter using a celebrated engine, and instead you did that, but you also put in that immature bullshit that absolutely fucking nobody remembers fondly about those games. It's like, oh yeah, that was a part of it and that was cool, I guess. Unless, of course, you have in fact been 14 since 1996, which I'm sure it happens, but we don't need that shit. And uh uh as an additional note, not only did they double down in this homophobic joke, but there was all sorts of evidence all over like their fucking uh uh forums and stuff like that these guys are like huge fucking transphobes. And I'm gonna say it once, I'm gonna say it definitively, I'm gonna say it forever. Trans rights are human rights, and fuck you guys. There, said it.
Yeah, nailed it. I don't really understand where people come from when they come from a perspective of wanting to do this. Like, why? It's not funny. Like, if people find it funny, there's something messed up with them to begin with. But why? Like, why?
Well, because it's immature humor, and when you're immature, like when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, you can find this shit funny, and a lot of us did. I did,
Oh,
sure, when I
sure.
was a kid, and then you grow up and you get past it and you get over it, and we collectively, like the video game industry and the people who attach themselves to it, such as myself and you, kind of moved on and kept going forward. And when you dig in the opposite direction, it's just not a good look. It demonstrates that the natural period of growth that we all went through as we aged and matured didn't happen, or like didn't happen at the same pace, and you feel resentful about it, so you want to take that out on other people in the most slow, careful, convoluted way possible, which is by making a video game, which is kind of like making a shitty Twitter post, except it takes thousands of times longer and is so much more work.
Mm, I don't know. Just seems to me like there would have been way better ways to call back to the glory days of Duke Nukem.
Fuck yeah.
Like any number of ways. And Duke Nukem Forever already explored all the ways that don't work, so you know which
Yeah.
ones to not do. Try
Yeah.
some of the other ones.
Somebody went and wrote the book for you guys
Yeah.
on how to not do this. Like, it was clearly labeled big yellow and black print, sold poorly, I think. So maybe that's why you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's out there and they just ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh well.
Which is too bad because by all accounts, our own review included, that's a pretty fun shooter. So, I mean, I think they really shot themselves in the foot there for anybody who has a progressive bone in their body. They're probably not going to look on that too kindly.
Well, good news is depending on where you go, most reviews, ideally ours included, you'll read about the game or you read the news about the game, and somebody helpfully in the comments will point out, just to be pedantic, hey, if you like that game, here's this game that doesn't have that shit. And I don't know the title off the top of my head because just not that dude. But I promise you, somebody has pre-made 2 or 3 examples of games in this very same niche genre
Mm-hmm.
out in the last year that achieve the same end without the like bigoted bullshit.
Hmm. I hadn't heard that, but if that is in fact the case, it would be populating in our related posts sidebar, most likely.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
From a news post somewhere in the depths of the COGconnected archives.
Oh yeah, man. If somebody felt strongly enough about this very tiny subgenre to make a game like that, four other people had that same impulse.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the fucking indie game market. There's not one example, there's 20.
So on a happier note,
Yes.
have you heard of the Untitled Goose Game?
No, not really. I mean, not until I saw the news article about it on our site talking about this thing waddling to release, and it looks so fun.
It looks pretty charming, and based on what I've heard, it is all about playing as a goose and screwing with people.
Now, you and I, being Canadians, know that the Canada Goose is in fact a vile, miserable fucking creature who you will cross the street to avoid if you see one in the wild.
That's true. They will peck your eyes out.
Yeah, if you're at the right height, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna feed you some bread. I'll take your fucking arm. How about that? Yeah, no, they're mean animals. And I feel like this game will be a great way to get this critical information out to the larger world. Hey guys, geese are assholes. Steer clear of them.
I like that this is doing it in a little less direct way, though, in that you're not pecking someone's eyes out. Instead, you're just taking their radio away.
Yeah.
You're just an a-hole.
Yeah.
It's nice. I'll probably play it.
A horrible goose bothering humans. Oh, for sure. That's fun. I'm into that.
Yep. That pretty much sums it up. But anyways, that's coming out this month.
Heck yeah.
And what else? I guess we could go back a little bit and talk about some Gamescom stuff. Where they showed off the first of the Death Stranding gameplay. And in true Kojima fashion, the first player action was, of course, to urinate publicly.
Yeah.
With a meter showing how many milliliters of urine are remaining in the tank, so to speak.
Which, okay, great that medical science has advanced to the point where you have like a piss bar that will tell you specifically where your like reserves are at. But man, like it's a little much, but at the same time, of fucking course Kojima's gonna have this in one of his games.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder if it was like, oh man, I've been waiting over a decade to put a piss bar in. Like, I wanted this in Metal Gear Solid, and they said no, and now nobody can tell me not to.
I can almost guarantee that's exactly what happened. And I'm so on board with it.
I mean, if I'm missing a piss mechanic in a previous Kojima game, somebody feel free to correct me. But like, I'm pretty sure this is the inaugural, like, instance of this mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes me more excited to use that infinitely extensible ladder, climb up to a very, very high location, and just let loose from the top of a mountain. Because you know there's going to be some kind of trophy or achievement for getting maximum distance on your urine. There's got to be.
Oh my god. And if there's not, there'll be like YouTube videos where it's just like peeing from the highest mountain in the game all the way, and like it like doesn't disappear or something. Like it keeps going till it hits the ground. So like smash cuts in the video to him like climbing down this mountain 40 minutes later. And like, look, guys, it's still there.
There's the puddle. It didn't despawn. Or you're so high up that like the physics break for some reason on the way down, and it just like skyrockets into the sky.
Oh my god, yes.
Like something out of Skyrim. That'd be oh yeah.
Broken piss physics. I'm so excited for this.
Yep. 2019, everybody.
Oh, what a magical year for video games. Okay.
But yeah, for reals, the narrative and stuff all looks pretty good from that. All the motion capture and voice acting seems like it's really, really high quality. So interested to see what that game is actually about. It does seem like you're a FedEx man for most of the game, but, you know, who can say?
Yeah, maybe a FedEx man who fights dudes sometimes. That'd be cool. Or you're literally just a delivery boy and there's no, like, if you fight, there's no, like, combat abilities where you just, like, with, like, Norman Reedus's actual upper body strength, you're just like, People are, like, cold clocking you in every battle. You're like,
You're just a delivery man who gradually fills up his piss tank.
Yes.
Yeah. If that's all it is, you know, I'm probably going to be reasonably happy with that too.
Hell yeah, the weirder the better, man. I want to see like articles where it was like, Kojima betrayed us. We were hoping for glory. Instead, we get this thing, and I'm like rubbing my hands with glee, like.
As he like throws a cloak around his shoulders and like whips it in front of a camera and disappears forever.
Yeah. My perfect work is complete. He like dissolves into a cloud of bats. You're like, fuck, okay.
Like, yep. Well, of course he's bats. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So yeah, there's a lot of other stuff at Gamescom, but one of the things that stood out to me is this game called Disintegration, which is kind of a shooting sort of Destiny Halo thing from one of Halo's creators.
Oh, yeah.
But it looks really strategy oriented, which it looks kind of cool.
I saw the video a little while ago, and I thought, at least they're trying to do a good job, like, building up the characters is what I'm thinking of. Like, you have a very, well fleshed out like crew, and they're trying to like make these people feel, you know, pretty real, and I like that. I don't know if they're gonna actually do a good job or if they spent all that fuel in the fucking opening trailer, but like. It's still gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, they definitely stole the art and design stuff straight from Destiny. But I get the sense that this is a little more strategic. Like maybe there's some, more tactical elements at play here that we're not necessarily seeing in this trailer.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I have no idea when that's coming out or know anything about it, really, but I just wanted to bring it up, you know?
Yeah, they don't show off a ton of gameplay, but, like, just the fact that there's different people filling, like, different roles, and, like, the tiny little bit you do see suggests that, yeah, there's going to be, like, an element of, like, careful thought, even in the midst of like the reasonably high-paced action, or it will be a failed, doomed Destiny knockoff. Who's to say, really?
I don't think it's us yet. Not yet, anyways.
No,
eventually,
no,
probably, but for now, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, that's
last but not least. We did touch on Remedy wanting to fix Control, the console version. I haven't dipped into the nitty gritty of this particular promise. Do they have a roadmap for this, or okay? No specific date for a
Yeah,
performance
yeah,
patch.
soon.
Okay, because like that's not great. But
I mean, it's still totally playable. It's very playable, except supposedly on the base PS4 it gets real rough. I can't confirm that myself, but yeah,
yeah,
it could be better.
I
It'd be nicer if it
I
was 30 frames.
yeah, I myself have a base PS4, so if I get it at all, it's going to be on PC
Mm-hmm.
because like I can't fuck with that. And on PC, you can like fiddle with graphics levels and stuff like that. So it'll look like 10% less pretty, but it'll run like a dream. And I mean, the physics engine is it sounds like that's the most important shit.
Yeah, I mean this screenshot that's in our news article with the pillar blowing up and stuff. That happens all the time. That kind of destruction is everywhere.
That's really sick.
It is pretty awesome. Yeah, I think that's all the news that happened in the world. It's
You know, if we missed any, it's because it obviously wasn't very important.
clearly
Clearly.
we picked the Goose game. We picked
Yeah.
this game from someone that's never made a game before, and yeah, fix for a game that has no date attached to it. Yeah, that's all the important stuff.
Well, I mean, we could do a top 10 list of reasons people bail on podcasts, but I don't think I've got that much mean left in me because I spent all of it on Ion Fury.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's dig enough for people. I think they will understand where you're coming from, since
Yes.
it's a weekly battle to try to get people to sit down and talk into a microphone when there's so much going on.
I will, the next time I'm out shopping, see if I can procure one of those really big canes with a huge hook that they use on like old stage shows that like drag people off. I'll get one of those and I'll corral these fucking guys in the general direction of a microphone and a computer. Be like, hey, guess what? You've got time for a podcast.
I like it. The Bo Peep of gaming.
Yeah. We'll just or like I'll learn how to lasso, you know, with the rope,
Oh,
Get them
I've
cowboy
wanted to do
roots
that for a
showing.
long time.
right?
Yeah. I bet you can do that in Death Stranding. I bet you
Oh
can
my
lasso.
God, yes. Or you can't, and people will figure out how to do it anyway.
The lasso of bodily fluid.
Oh. Yes, rope. Okay.
We got to get out of here.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for listening. We've been Paul and James. This has been Press X, the podcast. So, yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.